Hello, everybody. Hope you're enjoying your Sunday. This is the day that I'm uploading it, Sunday, May 4th. May the 4th be with you. I forgot to put my little floating Raider helmet. Do I do it? Yeah. Usually this is where I would upload the Friday replay of my Bleacher Report live stream, but for whatever reason, I can only download like a minute of it. I don't know what's going on over there. So I'm going to rehash a little bit of what I said on Friday for those of you who didn't see that. And then I do have a clip that they clipped out of me talking about if we should trade for Jaylen Ramsey. I know a lot of people hate that, but you have to go over the pros and cons of everything, because I know if we do end up doing that, there's going to be a lot of people that did not like it initially that will convince themselves to like it because they didn't weigh out every single option. So that will be stitched into the end of this. Here's what I will say. I want to specifically talk about a story I heard on the Rich Eisen show a couple days ago, where he talked about the impact that Pete Carroll is going to have specifically on this Raiders team, specifically for 2025 and moving forward. And it was a question that I posed based off of this story. And that question is, and I'll answer that throughout the length of whatever this is going to be. That question is it possible that Pete Carroll is still entering or is currently in his coaching prime? Because when we hired him, everyone was like, well, you're getting like 75% Pete Carroll. He's a little too old for the job. We don't know if he's the coach he once was when he was going to back-to-back Super Bowls, blah, blah, blah. So let's answer that question. Rich Eisen told the story on his show, I believe on Friday. No, I think it was Thursday. The clip is on the YouTube channel if you want to go watch it. And he discussed that him and his wife, Susie, went to Pete Carroll's last class that he was teaching for USC for this semester, because he teaches a class. It's like, the game of life, and it's like philosophical like studies of how you can live your life a certain way. I don't know. It's something like that. And the class, it was the last class of the semester, and it was a 2-hour lecture. And the whole time, it was like students coming up and giving their testimony about this class, about Pete Carroll's teaching style, and how it completely changed their lives. And Rich Eisen said he would hear these stories from these kids. And I won't get into the specifics, so you can go watch the Rich Eisen clip. He heard the stories that these kids were telling, and he wept. Him and his wife shed actual tears listening to these young kids talk about how Pete Carroll impacted their lives for the better moving forward. And he also said Pete Carroll went up there and he gave a little lecture and he was crying as well. And it makes you really wonder. Pete Carroll physically doesn't have the body of a 70-whatever-year-old. He's physically way younger. Mentally, he's also way younger. So this is when I started to think about the question as I was listening to Rich Eisen tell the story on his show. Is it not possible that we are still getting the best version of Pete Carroll? And the reason I think that question is important is because Pete Carroll, the last few years he was in Seattle with Geno, was able to elevate an average to slightly above average roster to playoff contention in a really tough division with the Cardinals, the Rams, and the 49ers, right? Is it not possible that he can't do the same thing for us? Now, I know anything's possible, but is it not likely? Because if you look at our roster, right, there are some holes, no doubt about it. We could use a veteran corner, maybe a Jaylen Ramsey. I'll talk about that later. We could use a linebacker or two. But the defensive front is pretty set with Wilkins, Crosby, Kuntz, Adam Butler, and you drafted 2 defensive tackles in J.J. Pegues and Tonka Hemingway. Your safety position is good with Jeremy Chin, Isaiah Pola-Mao. Your offensive line is so much better than it was last year because you've got DJ Glaze, who was a rookie right tackle who played every snap, getting another year under his belt, OTA-wise. You've got your left tackle in Cole Miller. You've got your center in JPJ. You've got your one guard in Dylan Parham, and your other guard could be either Caleb Rogers or Charles Grant, the guys that you drafted. And now your offensive weaponry is night and day from last year. Last year it was Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker, Brock Bowers, Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew, and Zamir White. Now it's Geno Smith, Ashton Genty, Raheem Mostert, Jacoby Myers, who had 1,000 yards last year, 0 drops, Brock Bowers, Jack Besh, Michael Mayer. This is a completely different Raider team. And Pete Carroll said this year that he took off, from the time that he took off, from the year he had at Seattle where they went 9-8, made the playoffs, and then he got fired or whatever, he resigned, to now, was so important for him to take a step back, watch the high school game with his grandkids or his nephews or whoever it was, and be able to connect with younger people and learn the new way the game is being played. And the game is being learned by these younger people. That is very important for Pete Carroll to be able to connect with these young players. And that was a major concern. And that concern is completely gone after hearing the Rich Eisen story that he told about this class. And I do think Pete Carroll's culture that he's put into place, he was able to keep guys like Patrick Graham and Rob Leonard to make sure Max Crosby felt happy. He was able to bring in a Chip Kelly so we can have somebody who was just in the college ranks, who knows about all these players that we're going to be potentially drafting. Of course he knew a lot about Ashton Genty and Jack Bash and all these guys. I think there is a very good chance, I think it's perhaps likely, that Pete Carroll is able to take a 7 to 8-ish win roster and elevate them to 9 or 10 wins. Am I going to put money on it? No. I will put money on the over-under, which is 6.5, which to me is a complete joke, especially with a last-place schedule that we have. I don't know. I just think that story in particular, it made me start to realize I think we're getting Pete Carroll prime. I think he's never been more cerebral and more in touch with the type of player that's in the league today. And with the roster moves that we've made, it's going to be a really, really fun season. So before I get into the Jaylen Ramsey clip of me on Bleacher Report, I just want to let you know about, where is this? It's right here. About 50% of you that have watched this video, have watched any of my videos, are not yet subscribed. We're trying to get to 13,000 subscribers. Hit that subscribe button if you'd be so kind. Also, Patreon. Oh, I'm invisible. Oh my God, what am I doing? Okay, this needs to go. Patreon.com/ALLaBorde Raiders. We just got 3 new members. I appreciate that so much. If you want your name at the end of the credits, if you want exclusive content never before seen on YouTube, if you want days in advance video uploads early, if you want videos ad-free, patreon.com/ALLaBorde Raiders. And lastly, these are all the patrons that signed up for that tier that you get your name at the end of the credits. It's only $5 a month. We also got 2 new patrons. Let me read them out here. I'm not going to read their whole names because they haven't yet told me what they want their names to be read as. But Kellen and Hootie. Shout out to Kellen and Hootie, my new patrons. I should probably shout new patrons when I get them. These are the patrons. Sign up. Link is in the description below. I will do my outro now, even though you're going to get another clip after this. Please be sure to subscribe to this free outro. No charges you. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time. Jaylen Ramsey clip. Stitched in. So here's my thoughts on Jaylen Ramsey, and this goes into my overarching culture thing. There's word on the street, I take it with a grain of salt, that Jaylen Ramsey wants to play for the Raiders. Who wouldn't want to play for Pete Carroll at this point in his career, right? Oh, he wants Ramsey. Okay. Here's where I fall on this. My only concern with Jaylen Ramsey would be his locker room presence. Now, he's not like the biggest diva in the world, like some people want to admit, but he is somebody who's like, if he's not really feeling it, he wants out. And we want people that are going to change the culture, push it in the right direction. That's what this whole live is about today, the culture, and Pete Carroll being able to cultivate that culture. I would say, with other regimes in place, I would be hesitant to trade for somebody like Jaylen Ramsey. But with Pete Carroll and Patrick Graham, who was able to deal with like Jack Jones, right? Jack Jones and Jaylen Ramsey feel similar, except Jack Jones is a fraction of the player that Jaylen Ramsey is. Even though Jack Jones had some success with us, he also had a lot of negativity around him, and now he's gone. It just comes down to, do they believe Jaylen Ramsey has the right attitude and mindset to fit this culture? Because they made it clear, Spy Tech and crew, during the draft process, they are not going to bring people in that do not feel like they are all in with this organization, that aren't ready to compete. Because I guarantee you, if they traded for Jaylen Ramsey, Pete Carroll would say, look, dude, you're the most talented defensive back we have in the roster. That doesn't mean a dang thing in terms of you being able to start for this team. You're going to have to earn it, and you should earn it because you are the most talented DB we have. Now, we've got Jacorian Bennett, and Stokes, Eric Stokes, Darnell Holmes, right? I keep doing that. Darnay Holmes. Uh, yeah, we're a little worse for the wear at cornerback. We have a lot of them. I'm not going to list them all because they're not all going to make the roster. And for the right price, I would trade for him. Now, if you're going to throw Michael Mayer in there, that would be tough for me. I really want to see what Michael Mayer can do with consistent quarterback play and a full season with a healthy mental state. Excuse me, a healthy body, and Chip Kelly calling the plays. So if we're gonna throw Michael Mayer into this situation, I wouldn't love that. That wouldn't be for the right price for me. I would trade a day. If it was a day 2 pick, it would have to be a third, but we just traded a third for Geno Smith. So it can't be a third for Jaylen Ramsey. It'd have to be like a fourth or a fifth for me to be really convinced of that. Now, the Dolphins taking some of the cap, of course, obviously, I would let them do that. But even if they said no, I would say, okay, we're going to give you a fourth and a sixth, and we'll take Jaylen Ramsey, and we'll take on the whole cap situation because we can afford it. And maybe that's what John Spytek has been doing throughout free agency, is putting us in a position to be able to trade for one of these guys that has an expensive price tag next to him, because we'll be able to afford it now. So Jaylen Ramsey for the right price, I don't hate it. I really don't hate it. How am I using this? We have DCAM. Yeah, he wasn't great last year. He wasn't even good, but he was kind of thrust into things because we had a lot of injuries, and I don't blame that. And, that was a trial by fire situation. Maybe he gets better. Ja'Cory Bennett wasn't great his rookie year, and then is this his second year in the league or his third year? He really took that next step. What does Ramsey have left on his contract? Well, let's look it up. Jaylen Ramsey contract details. So I'm on Spot Track right now. Jaylen Ramsey has 3 years, $72 million. His cap hit next year is $25 million. He becomes a free agent in 2029. So yeah, you're gonna have to, financially move off of him at some point. All right, so let's see. I honestly don't see us trading for anyone. We now know that Spytek loves his picks. He's already planning for next year's draft with all the comp picks we will get for the free agents we lost. Well, that's true and also not true. I mean, we traded for Geno Smith and we got rid of the Devontae pick, and he was able to recoup a lot of that stuff. So maybe because of the comp picks that we were going to get for Nate Hobbs and Robert Spillane and all these guys, we're going to be able to trade one of the picks we have for Jaylen Ramsey and not be able to lose the amount of picks that we're going to have into the future because we're getting all these comp picks. So I understand what you're saying, but that might work against the argument, right? The attitude change is more important than talent. No doubt about it, Feet. But what I will say is I think Pete Carroll is uniquely equipped to handle said potential attitude problems, which, again, I don't really see. It's just that he wants to be traded every now and again. If we bring in anyone who will be a free agent, Spytek is not giving up picks for a declining player. He's slowing down. Spy is too smart to trade for him. Okay, yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with that. Trial by fire, he's going to be a lot better because we're still talking about DCAM there. Yeah, I understand that. And the trade was for a quarterback. Yes, you are right.